Since I started this channel, it has been my idea to make a video about flat earth theory, flat earth society, that kind of thing. But it was not something I was planning to do right now, but as I was watching one of SciManDan's videos, it's a great channel by the way, link is in the description down below, I came across a claim so ridiculous that I felt compelled to do a video about flat earth.
The commercial air travel routes for the southern hemisphere are wrong. This is an easy thing you can check out in 60 seconds. Take a map reading of the distance between anywhere near Australia and anywhere in South America. It's a straight shot across the South Pacific. Now find your favorite travel site and try to get there non-stop. See what happens. The routes start turning ridiculous. I used to business travel for years, and I've never seen anything like it.
This is so idiotic because I live in Australia and I travel to South America once a year. My family is in South America. I come from South America. So I do this trip once a year, and I know what this guy just said is absolutely ridiculous. There are 3 routes I can choose to go from Australia to South America without going around the world. And I can assure you, because I've done the trip, that you get on a plane in Australia and you get off the plane in Chile. It is a direct flight. There are no stops. So what this guy is saying is absolutely stupid, and this is one of the most prominent flat earthers around apparently. Now I can show the map showing the route of the plane, and you can see the curve, which would only make sense in a globe, because that would be the shortest distance between the 2 points. That would make a straight line if you go through the south to close to the South Pole. But none of that matters to conspiracy theorists. They don't care about that. And one common factor with many of these flat earth believers is that they are very devout Christian evangelicals. Somehow I am not surprised. When there is the religious element, there is absolutely no point in reasoning. And that's where I think many of these channels, when they try to argue with science, with logic, with reason, it's gonna be hard to convince anyone. Now we might help convincing people who might not be so sure about it, but those who are really hardcore believers of flat earth, it's nothing really gonna convince them. Now you see, I am not a scientist, neither is any flat earther for that matter, and I don't pretend to be one. Now I like science. I read a lot of science, I watch documentaries, I really like it. But I don't understand most of the theory. I really don't. I watch documentaries and read magazines like National Geographic because they simplify things a lot in a way that a layperson like myself can understand it. And I'm not ashamed to admit that. I'm not arrogant and try to pretend that I understand something I don't. And the fact that I don't understand it doesn't mean that it's all bullshit. Doesn't mean that they are trying to deceive me. It just means that I don't know. And it's impossible to know. It's impossible to know everything about every little different discipline of science. It's just too much. And that's fine. So science is based on trust. You trust science. And why someone like myself, a lay person, trusts science? Well, because science works. All this technology that we have is based on mainstream science. The reason why we had an industrial revolution was greatly because of Newton's laws of gravity and motion. You see, I mentioned planes before. Do you think the Wright brothers and Santos Dumont didn't consider gravity when they designed their planes? They did. They weren't flat earthers. People who design rockets, who design satellites, aren't flat earthers. And if you don't trust satellites, if you think satellites is bullshit, well, I talk to my parents once a day through my cell phone, through image. I can hear and see them. There is no wires, only using the cell phone. And I know they're there. I can talk to them, I can hear them. That's why I trust satellites exist and they are transmitting that information. Because it works. When I use GPS, it fucking works. And if you don't believe in a global Earth, if you don't believe in relativity, you shouldn't be using GPS because you shouldn't trust it. But if you're lost, you probably will, even if you're a flat earther. You might come up with some excuse to why it works, I don't know. But that is the thing, that is the bottom line. Science fucking works. We get things that solve problems and make our life easier. That's why people trust it, even though they don't understand it. And most people are not arrogant to pretend that they do understand it, or think it's all bullshit simply because they don't. Most people are honest enough to admit that they just don't understand it. All those brainiacs there make these things and they work. So I trust them. And we all know what happens when flat earthers try to invent something. Now I'm sure if he had used the standard rocket equation, it would have worked, but he didn't. There is also an app that they released. Didn't work either.
Now I have positioned the iPad with this app running at such an orientation where west in Perth is facing in the direction of true west. And yet this app is showing that the sun should be setting in a northwesterly direction. Reality has the sun setting in this direction, more than 20 degrees south of west. So the app predicts the sun should be setting in this direction, northwest. Reality is showing the sun setting to the southwest. So unfortunately guys, I have some bad news for you. Your own app debunks the flat earth. If this app and this model does not match reality, then it is simply wrong.
But you know what? I know that all of this, everything I just said, is probably not gonna help a flat earther. You see? They're gonna dismiss anything anyway. And I know that challenge them to come up with inventions and things that work, not considering the globe model, not considering gravity, etc. It's a big challenge, you know, especially if you don't know anything about physics and chemistry and science in general. So there is another one. There is an easier and more plausible challenge. There are some flat earthers who are planning an expedition to the South Pole, to Antarctica, to try to show us the end of the world. Now that is dangerous and silly because they're gonna find the first hill or anything that's gonna be a little bit taller, and they're gonna claim that's the end of the world and they can't transpass it because they will be terrified. You know, they're gonna be there in that cold, in that terrible environment, and they're gonna be desperate to come back. They will try to run back even before the shit freezes in their pants. They're gonna be fucking terrified. It's a terrible environment. No seasoned adventurers died trying this trip. It's crazy. There is a more realistic challenge though. You know, get that money from the crowdfunding that you're going to this expedition and buy or rent a plane, whatever, and go from Perth to South America on a straight line. According to your model, that is a flight that can't be done. It's impossible. But if you try to do it, you will reach the end of the world. At some point, you'll be flying across Antarctica and you will reach the end. And then you show us a picture, a video, any sort of evidence, and see how the world will react. Now that is evidence. Then people will start maybe listening to you. Until then, you're just going to be a fringe group that most people will laugh at. I've been Sarah Michel. Thank you very much for staying with me until the end. If you like this video, please leave a comment and share it with your friends, and especially with flat earthers. And if you like my content, please subscribe to my channel. That would be greatly appreciated. And I will see you next time. Cheers.